Hello guys and welcome to English Talks. My name is Dave and I'm here right now to explain your Thai exam. Okay? Now this is an exam you can take to fulfill your obligation of taking an exam when you finish your visa. You don't have to do a Thai, of course. You can do an IELTS or Cambridge exam, but the Thai exam is a very convenient exam. And unless you say otherwise, you will be automatically booked for a Thai exam. Now, the Thai stands for Tests of Interactive English. Now, I'm just going to explain what the exam is and what you need to do to prepare for it. It's very simple and straightforward, okay? Now, you have to do for this 3 tasks plus a logbook. Okay? Now, the 3 tasks are recorded in the logbook. The logbook is just your reference of information of the 3 tasks you are doing. So what are these 3 tasks? Let's take a look. They're very simple, guys. It's something you can do, 1 hour every week, even less, maybe 15 minutes every week for the course, over the course of your visa, and you will have finished all of this and you'll be well able for the exam. So guys, the first task is a short project, and I'll explain these in some depth in a moment. Okay? A short project on a subject that interests you. Okay, so that's the great thing, guys. It can be anything that you are interested in. And I'll give some examples of all this in a moment to make this concrete. Number 2, you have to read a book in English. So read a book of your choice at your level. So guys, obviously it has to be in English. So there are books that are tailored to particular levels, be it A2, B1, or if you're at an advanced level like C1 or C2, you can just read any book you want. It doesn't have to be a fiction book. It can be a short book. It can be a long book. It can be whatever you want, okay? It can be Harry Potter, for example. It can be whatever you want, okay? As long as you read it and it's in English, okay? So do read the book. Then with the third task is follow a news story okay? And give 2 English sources. So these can be from English language newspapers. They don't have to be English, the country, just English language. They can be from the USA, they could be from Australia, they could be Al Jazeera. As long as it's in English, it's completely fine, guys. But we want 2 English sources. So 1 story, 2 sources. It can be a funny story, it can be a serious news story. It doesn't really matter. Again, it's anything that interests you, you can pick. Get 2 sources in English, and we record this information in the logbook. Okay? Now, let's explain each of these. So let's start with the short project. Okay? Then I'll explain the test itself. But first, I'm going to explain each of these. I think these are pretty straightforward. Reading a book, following a news story, that's pretty straightforward. But what is the short project? Now, the project, guys, is any kind of activity, okay, that takes a little bit of time. For example, the project could be about my favorite Cork restaurants. Okay, my favorite Cork restaurant. So maybe you go to, you like food, you eat out. Over the course of your visa, so okay, that's a number of months, you can go to different restaurants try the food and explain what you think about it, whether you like it, what was the atmosphere, the service, etc. And you just record this in your logbook, okay? Now, it doesn't have to be that. You might say that's very expensive. It could be green areas in Cork. You could go to all the parks, okay? You could maybe interview people. If you're living with a host family, you could ask them questions about a topic, okay? Maybe their opinions on Latin America, your country, etc. It can be basically anything, guys, okay? Anything that involves just a little bit of effort, a little bit of work over the course of a number of weeks. Don't think of anything very complicated. It doesn't need to be complicated. In fact, the more simple it is, the better, because then you can explain it very easily to the examiner. And we'll get on to the exam section in a moment. But basically, guys, this is what the project is. Anything that needs to be a kind of activity, okay? Now, another example of an activity you might do, it could be trying different kinds of Irish beer, okay? That might be a fun one if you like to drink beer. You could try different kinds of Irish sweets or candies. That's another example of something you can do. You could visit churches if that's what you're interested in, or mosques, or whatever your fancy takes. You are really free with the project, guys. As long as it's something you can talk about and you have recorded just a few notes in your logbook, okay? Maybe pictures as well. Now, guys, the logbook is literally just any kind of book that you have your information in. Just get a little copybook from a shop. They can cost 50 cents. And just write your information in there, okay? So record in notebook. Or we won't say notebook, we'll say logbook, because that's what they call it. But it can be any little book, guys. Don't buy anything expensive, buy something for cheap, and just write the information in there. If you're looking at green areas in Cork, for example, maybe you'll go to the green area, you'll write down your feelings about it, what you see. Maybe you can take a picture, and you'll put that information in the logbook. Maybe the next week you go to a different green area, you write down a bit of information about that, take a picture, etc. Just repeat that. If you do it 5-10 minutes every week, you will be finished in about 4 or 5 weeks. It is not something that needs to be worked on very deeply, okay? In fact, it's something that could be done over the course of 2 or 3 weeks. Particularly if it's about, something like trying foods, drinking beers, or visiting places. Okay? You can do something that's more complicated, guys. You can look on the internet maybe and see if there's a more complicated project. If you want to challenge, I suggest just keeping it simple. Keep it as simple as you can and something you can talk about easily. Now, what about the exam itself? Okay? So, what does this have to do with the exam? So, the exam has 2 parts. There's a speaking and there's a writing. So we'll just split into 2 here, and a writing. Now, it's called interactive English because it's about your interactions. They're not testing your grammar exactly, but they're testing how you can communicate, okay? So, we'll talk about the speaking test. So, the speaking has 2 parts, okay? So in part 1, you present your project. I'll just write that a bit better, excuse me. Just looking at my notes here. Present your project. Or news story. Okay? They'll ask you for one or the other. So be prepared to speak about either. You have to memorize a few things, guys, okay? Maybe memorize a few sentences. Just know your material, know what you want to say. Now, So they present your project and it's the book or the news story, excuse me. Book or news story, my mistake. The book or the news story. Okay, so you have to present your project orally, so be prepared for that, and it'll be the book or the news story. What do you have to present with the book or the news story? Very simple, guys. With the book, talk about what the book's about, the characters in the book, the plot of the book, and how the book made you feel. Did you like it? Did you dislike it? Why? Just talk about it as if you would speak about your friends about a book. The news story, much the same. Just explain what happened. Who are the people involved? Is it a good thing, a bad thing? How does it make you feel? Talk about that. Your project should be straightforward as well. You will speak about your project, then book or your news story. And you won't do the speaking alone, guys. There'll be two of you in the room, okay? So each person will do their monologue, and then you have a discussion together. Okay, so they're going to look at your interaction with this other person. It may be somebody you don't know, okay? So be prepared for that. You may not know this person, so just brace yourself for being having a conversation with a stranger, okay? With someone you don't know. So have a discussion, sit down, and talk about a topic. You'll be given a topic by the examiner, and you just speak about it and you come to some agreement about the topic. Nothing too complicated or heavy. Do not judge yourself based on your opponent, your partner, I should say. Opponent is a little aggressive. Do not judge yourself based on that. They mix the levels quite a bit, though they try to have people with similar levels together. It may not be possible. So just because someone next to you is speaking very well, they could be at a different level. Remember, guys, if you're doing the TIE exam, you're really doing this to complete your immigration obligations. This is just a legal requirement to show that you're progressing in your English and you are actually learning English. So it really doesn't matter. You're not going to be kicked out of a school or moved to different classes or thrown out of the country if the exam does not go well for you. There's nothing to worry about. This is just a legal formality. So do not judge yourself against other people and don't stress too much about the exam. So 2 parts, guys. You present your project, you talk about your book or your news story, and then there's a discussion with a partner. The writing, guys, is first part, there's 2 parts again. Write about your book or news story. So basically, what you speak about here, you'll write about here. All right? If you talk about your book, you're going to write about your news story. If you talk about your news story, you're going to write about your book. So it's going to be the same information, guys, except you'll be writing it as opposed to speaking it. Probably you'll find speaking about it a little easier actually than writing it. So you should prepare by writing what you want to say more or less, okay? If you write down a script of how to describe your book and a script of how to describe your news story, and you kind of memorize that, you can then just speak that script if you have to speak about it. So the best way to prepare for this exam is just to write down exactly what you want to say. Your teacher can help you with this, okay? Maybe not in class time, but you can show your teacher your script, what you've written, and they can help you make it a little bit better. Then you just memorize it for the exam. Part 2 then is an unknown task. So this is something you can't prepare for. It could be something like writing a letter to a friend, okay? Something like that. All you have to do is do your best in the writing. It's similar to a writing task you'll get in your day-to-day English. Just do your best with it, okay? You won't know what the task is. Be sure to read the question carefully and keep to the word count that you've been asked to do. It won't be very much, maybe 120 to 150 words. And the topic will not be very complicated. As I said, it could be something like a letter, okay, or an advertising, a job application, something like that. Something with a real world effect on it. It won't be anything philosophical or anything complicated or controversial, okay? So you can't know that. You'll prepare that in your English classes with your teacher by practicing your writing. So guys, that is the exam in a nutshell. It's a very straightforward exam and it's a very nice exam. The key is to prepare. One thing we have to remember, they like you to photocopy the front cover of your book and the back cover of your book. So do that in your school. They also want you to print the news articles, okay? So print the news articles and photocopy the front or back of your book. If you own the book, you can just bring the book itself. Also, very important, and people forget it, bring ID. You have to bring ID. People who forget their ID cannot do the exam because of a risk of fraud. Please bring your ID. You will be reminded by your school to do this. This can be a passport, a driver's license, anything that proves that it is you who has the name. The Thai examiner will just have a name, okay? They will not have a picture of you. You have to prove you are who you say you are. So please, please bring ID. Otherwise, you will not complete the exam and you may have to pay again to do it, okay? Which is no good. We don't want that. So most important, guys, is to bring your ID because you have to do this exam, okay? Now, you don't have to do this exam if you have an IELTS exam booked or a Cambridge exam. But if you don't want to do IELTS or Cambridge, the Thai is a nice, cheap, straightforward exam. And I hope now you understand what is required of you. If you have any other questions, please email English Talks Administration and we will answer your question as quickly as possible. Thank you for watching and we'll see you in the next video. Okay guys, a little more information on the Thai exam. We've been asked for things to avoid. Okay? This refers to your project, your book, or your news article. All right? We want to try and avoid certain topics so we don't offend anybody or we don't create an awkward exam environment. And to help us with this, we're going to use the acronym PARSNIPS. Okay, parsnip. Now, parsnip is a vegetable, but it helps us with an acronym. The P is for politics. Okay? We'll try and avoid political books, political essays, or political news stories. Also try and avoid doing politics in your project, anything local or international. Is alcohol. Alcohol is not consumed in every culture, so we want to avoid discussing alcohol. So maybe for the project, in Ireland there's lots of pubs. You might be okay doing a project on that, but consider avoiding it just so it is not offensive. Maybe you could do restaurants instead. R is for religion, okay? We should try and avoid religion in general, either in our project, our book, or our news story, because this is a sensitive topic. Similarly, when you're choosing a book, please do not choose a religious text, okay? Do not choose the Bible, the Quran, or the Book of Mormon, or the Talmud, or any kind of religious text. Try and avoid this. This is not to disrespect any religious text, but we just want to keep religion out of this exam environment. Or rather, the Thai examiners have asked us to do this. The S then is sex. This refers to anything explicit or pornographic. Of course, we don't want to have this in the exam room, so please do not base a project, a news story, or a book on anything that is sexual. N is narcotics. Now, narcotics is like alcohol. It's to do with drugs, okay? Any kind of drug. So please avoid a book, a news story, or a project that is anything to do with illegal drugs, okay? Even cigarettes or smoking, please avoid this. Now, I is for isms. Now, isms could be like racism, sexism, and it also applies to things like political ideologies. We relate it back to politics, communism, fascism, Nazism. Avoid any kind of extreme viewpoints, any isms, any ideologies which might be considered offensive. And finally, we have the P, which is, now this is pork, but this is about dietary. Okay, so again, this is a cultural issue. We want to avoid dietary texts, okay? Dietary. We want to avoid any text to do with diet because this might be offensive. So parsnip is a good method to help you avoid anything too controversial. We kind of know ourselves what could be considered controversial, what could be considered inappropriate. What is important, guys, is that we try and keep the exam area to be a safe, inclusive place. Okay? Now, just for the books, guys, as well, please do not use comic books, manga books, anime books. These are not acceptable. Has to be a normal book. As I said, please no religious books, okay? No holy scriptures. That is not acceptable as well because of religion. Also, children's books cannot be used, okay? You cannot use a children's book designed to teach. It has to be more of a normal book for teenagers and up, okay? News story, guys. Remember, the sources must be in English. And guys, photographs can be helpful as well. You can put these in your logbooks, either for your project or your news story. So guys, this is just a little extra information, just some things to consider and to avoid. You might be refused to do the exam if the examiner is offended. So it's more for you than it is for anything else. If you are worried that your project, your topic, your news story is offensive or might offend somebody, best not to do it, okay? If you think it might be offensive, best to pick something a little more neutral. There are plenty of things to talk about which would not offend anyone. So, thank you very much, guys. I hope that gives you the information you need to pass your exam.